Hello, my dear friend. What factors do you think most often lead to adultery in marriage? And how can they be prevented? Write your opinion in the comments. In today's story, our main character came face to face with adultery. His wife's AP turned out to be a very influential person. Can he handle this problem? Let's find out. And while you're watching this video, don't forget to put your royal like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go. The soft hum of the lamps filled the room, and my fingers danced on the keyboard. Lines of code floated across the screen in front of me. But my thoughts were elsewhere, distracted by the nagging feeling that had been with me all day. Looking at my watch, I realized that it was 8:30 on Friday evening. I should have left a few hours ago, but this project required my attention. Despite the urgency of the task, something was wrong. After a little hesitation, I took out my phone and dialed our home number. I've been trying to get through for a long time. Just when I was about to give up and assume that Emily was already asleep, I was answered by a deep, slurred voice that made my heart pound. "Who is this?" I asked, clutching the phone in fright. A soft giggle came from the speaker and I froze in shock. A man's voice answered. "Your wife is having fun with someone else," sounded in my ears. The line broke. Emotions bubbled up inside me like a dam that had burst. Anger, fear, confusion, and betrayal. They all fought for control. I abruptly got to my feet, almost knocking over my chair, hurriedly threw on my coat and ran out of the office, not forgetting to close the door behind me. The trip home turned into a hazy moment when I was trying to piece together recent events and find at least some missed clue. Emily's recent absence, her lateness to work, mysterious charges from our credit card, and the aggravation of disputes between us all suddenly made sense. How could I be so blinded? I muttered irritably, slapping my hand on the steering wheel. When I arrived at our entrance, I saw an unfamiliar car parked on the street. My stomach tightened as I debated whether to run away, ignoring the situation. Curiosity got the better of me, and I realized that I had to face the truth. I got out of the car on heavy legs and walked slowly to the front door. My hand was shaking when I tried to unlock it. Gathering my strength, I finally turned the key and opened the door. The silence in the house was deafening, and my heart started pounding as I climbed the stairs. As I approached our bedroom, I heard soft voices and rustling. Without thinking, I opened the door wide. The scene that appeared before my eyes will forever remain in my memory. Emily, my wife of 5 years, was lying in our bed with another man. And not just with another man, but with Brad Hastings, her boss. Time seemed to stand still for a moment. Emily's eyes widened in shock and fear. Brad looked more than annoyed. He covered himself with a sheet. I can explain," Emily stammered, but I was speechless. My throat tightened. I took out my phone and started filming. "What the hell are you doing?" Brad growled, hurriedly searching for his clothes. "Get out," I finally managed to say, my voice low and frightening. "You two, get out of my house." Emily began to sob. "Ryan, please let me explain everything." "It's not what you think," Emily said. "I come home and see my wife lying in bed with another man, and that's not what I'm thinking about." "Save your excuses, Emily, just go away," I told her. Brad, who was already partially dressed, tried to approach me. "Listen, Ryan, let's discuss this like adults," he said. I stepped back, keeping my eyes on them. "There's nothing to talk about. Get out before I call the police," I replied sternly. Emily jumped out of bed, tears streaming down her face. "Ryan, please, I love you. We can fix this," she pleaded. Her words only inflamed my anger. "Do you love me? Is that how you show love, Emily? Cheating on me with your boss in our bed? Get out of here," I ordered. While they hurriedly dressed and packed their things, I continued to write. Part of me understood that I was acting on pure emotions, but I couldn't stop. I wanted them to experience the same humiliation as me. After they changed their clothes, I followed them down the stairs, filming them on camera. Emily made one last attempt to reach me. "Ryan, I'm really sorry. Can we discuss this?" I shook my head, and there was a lot of anger in my words. "How could you betray us like that? Our marriage? Just go away, Emily. I can't bear to see you now," I said. As soon as they left the house, I abruptly slammed the door and locked it. Without thinking about the possible consequences, I posted the video on social media. I collapsed on the sofa, burying my face in my hands. The harsh truth of the situation was slowly seeping into my mind. My marriage, the life I had built, was destroyed beyond recognition. I was confused, not knowing what to do next. My phone buzzed incessantly, inundating me with messages from friends and relatives who witnessed the video. Some expressed disbelief and sympathy, others were angry at me. I couldn't bring myself to answer any of them. As the night dragged on, I sat in the dark, going over all the memories of my relationship with Emily and trying to determine at what point everything collapsed. The pain of betrayal was unbearable, and it seemed that the wound could not be healed. The next morning, I woke up on the couch. My neck was numb, my head was throbbing. For a fleeting moment, I wished it was all a nightmare. But reality hit me again, and the agony made itself felt again. I reluctantly checked my phone. Overnight, the video exploded in popularity, gaining hundreds of comments, messages, and missed calls. While I was mindlessly replaying all these stunning responses in my head, a sudden knock on the door brought me out of my stupor. With pain in my limbs, I reluctantly got up to open the door and saw Emily standing there with her eyes swollen from crying. "Ryan," she whispered, her voice strained. "We need to discuss this." Leaning against the door frame, I felt a wave of fatigue wash over me. "I think you said enough last night, Emily," I replied sharply, making her flinch. Despite my resistance, she begged for a chance to explain herself. Reluctantly, I gave up and let her go inside. As she passed me, the familiar scent of her perfume, which used to fascinate me, now made me feel sick. We were sitting on opposite ends of the sofa. The distance between us seemed insurmountable. Emily took a deep breath, preparing to speak. "Ryan, I'm really sorry for what I did. I know it's not forgiven, and I understand if you can't forgive me. But please, you have to believe me when I say that I never wanted to hurt you." I burst into bitter laughter. "Have you ever wanted to hurt me? How do you think cheating with your boss can affect me?" She flinched at my words. "It wasn't like that. Brad promised me a raise, said it would help our future. I thought I was doing this for us." My anger, simmering in the depths of my soul, threatened to boil over. "For us? Are you serious, Emily? How can we sleep with him to solve our problem?" I exclaimed. "I know it sounds crazy," she said, and tears filled her eyes. "But we've been struggling with mortgages and your student loans for so long. I thought that if I got this promotion, then we could finally start saving for a family," Emily explained. I got up and started walking around the room. "And instead of discussing our money problems with me, you decided to sell yourself to your boss? Does our marriage mean so little to you?" I spoke. Emily sighed, a look of resentment on her face. "It's not fair, Ryan. I made a huge mistake. I understand that, but I love you. We'll get through this." I stopped pacing and stared at her. I looked at her seriously. The woman sitting on my couch now seemed like a stranger to me. "No, Emily, we can't. You betrayed me in the most terrible way. There is no turning back. Don't give up 5 years of marriage because of one mistake," Emily pleaded. When she held out her hand to me, I couldn't bring myself to accept her touch. "It wasn't a common drinking mistake. You've been lying to me for weeks, maybe months. How long does this betrayal last?" I replied. She couldn't look me in the eye when she admitted it had been a few months. The weight of her confession hit me hard. She never thought about the consequences of her action, about how it would split me. "I wanted to tell you," she whispered, "but I was afraid. It's scary to lose you. It's scary to destroy everything we have." I shook my head, and a strange sense of peace came over me. "Well, Emily, congratulations. You've achieved exactly what you feared. It's over, I said. Her eyes widened in despair. Oh no, Ryan, please. Let's consult. Let's figure it out. I will write a letter of resignation and stop all contact with this person. Please give me one more opportunity, she continued. Another opportunity for what? To deceive me? To betray me? No, Emily, I've had enough. I demand a divorce, I said firmly. These words froze between us, weighed down by weight and irrevocability. Emily collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. Ryan, please, I'm begging you. Please don't do this. I love you. I will do my best to fix everything. For a fleeting moment, my resolve weakened. Part of me longed to comfort her, to take her in my arms and pretend that we could turn back time. But deep down, I knew it was impossible. The trust between us has been destroyed, irrevocably destroyed. I think it would be better if you left, I said calmly, trying to hide the pain in my voice. My lawyer will contact you about the divorce. She stood up from her seat, her legs trembling. This can't be the end, Ryan. Please just think about it. Don't rush things. I went to the door and opened it for her. Goodbye, Emily. She walked past me and stopped. I'm really sorry, Ryan. I really hope that one day you will be able to find the strength in your heart to forgive me. I didn't say anything, closed the door and listened when her footsteps faded. The house suddenly became deserted. I looked at the memories we had created together, at the photographs that decorated the walls, at the trinkets that we had collected over the years. Now it all seemed alien to me, as if it belonged to another life. My phone beeped and a message from Brad appeared on the screen. Delete this video immediately, otherwise you will regret it, he wrote. The message stared at me, causing a surge of anger. Who does he think he is to threaten like that? I quickly typed in the answer. Go to hell, Brad. You'll get what you deserve. I quickly clicked on the button, sent a message and blocked his number. I knew that my disobedience would have consequences, but at that moment I was ready for anything. I had nothing more to lose. The next week passed in a blur. I started the divorce process, in a hurry to distract myself from the pain. My lawyer, Sarah, warned me about possible difficulties. Are you sure you want to continue? She asked. Some couples can overcome infidelity. I shook my head emphatically. No, there is no turning back. I want to do it as soon as possible. Sarah made a note in her file, understanding the finality of my decision. Just so you know, that video you shared may cause some problems. Mr. Hastings can use it to his advantage, she added. I leaned back in my chair, feeling my head start to hurt. But I won't back down, I assured her. As I was leaving Sarah's office, I got a text from my boss, Dave Coleman. He wanted to see me immediately. I was overcome by a feeling of horror. I was concerned about the troubles in my personal life and did not pay attention to how this might affect my work. Heading to the office, I was preparing for the unknown. Arriving at the place, Dave greeted me with a serious expression on his face. He invited me to sit down, and when I sat down, he spoke in a measured tone. Ryan, he began, I think you understand why I asked you to come today. I just nodded, unable to find my voice. Dave took a deep breath and ran his hand through his hair. I want you to know that I'm not here to condemn your personal problems, he continued. But the video you posted caused some problems for the company. Our customers are starting to get interested, and this is not the best way to affect our reputation. I felt a surge of anger at the hint that I was to blame for the situation. I was betrayed, I retorted, gripping the chair tightly with my hands. How can I be the cause of the problems? I understand your disappointment, he said, but we need to think about the bigger picture. We have a business to run and we need to protect our reputation. I leaned back in my chair, realizing the gravity of the situation. What do you mean, Dave? I asked, feeling a growing sense of horror when he refused to meet my gaze. I'm sorry, Ryan, but we have to let you go, he finally admitted. I hardly understood the meaning of his words. Are you firing me because my wife cheated on me? I asked in disbelief. Dave pushed the document towards me and explained, "Your contract allows for dismissal without a reason. Of course, we will pay severance pay." I stared at the paper in front of me, feeling like I was in a nightmare. "It's not fair, Dave. I have devoted 5 years to this company, and my performance has always been on top," I objected, hoping to convince him. "I understand, Ryan, and I'm sorry to have to make this decision," he replied seriously. "You can pick up your stuff now or come back in a few hours, whichever you prefer." I jumped to my feet abruptly, and the sound of a chair scraping on the floor echoed through the room. "I'll pack my things now. I don't want to cause trouble for the company anymore," I said, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness. While I was packing, my colleagues avoided me, and their quiet conversations increased the tension in the room. I felt rejected, overwhelmed by my own suffering and rage. Just as I was preparing to leave, Brad Hastings suddenly appeared on the threshold of my now empty office. He leaned casually against the door jamb, a cheeky grin on his face. "I warned you that you would regret this," he said mockingly, his voice barely audible to everyone except me. I felt a surge of anger. Without thinking, I slapped him across the face with all my might. Brad staggered back, blood gushing from his nose. "You're a monster!" I screamed, rushing at him again. But the guards hurried to intervene, grabbing my arms and holding me in place. Brad wiped the blood from his face, and his smug smile turned into a furious growl. "You're done, Mitchell," he growled. "I guarantee that you will never work in this industry again." When the guards escorted me out of the building, the eyes of my colleagues stared at me in shocked silence. The people I once thought of as friends were now watching me being led to the exit. Once outside, a security guard named Mike gave me a sad look. "I'm really sorry, man. If anything, I think you're in trouble." I could only nod, feeling numb and defeated. Watching my things being loaded into the car, it was like witnessing the collapse of someone else's life. The last time I drove away from the office, the weight of the events of the past week finally hit me with all its force. In a matter of days, I experienced the devastating loss of my wife, job, and self-esteem. Tears were streaming down my face, and I pressed the car to the curb, unable to look at the pain that gripped me. With a heart-rending scream, I beat my fists on the steering wheel until they throbbed with pain. When the tears dried, I sat in silence, looking ahead at the empty road. I had no plan, no idea how to move on after the collapse of my life. But I was sure of one thing for sure. It was far from the end. Brad Hastings and Emily robbed me of everything, and I was determined to make them pay for their actions. The days following my dismissal passed in a blur. I locked myself in my apartment, shutting out the alarm calls from friends and family, and the shame of my losses corroded me like caustic acid. One morning, as I was mindlessly scrolling through my social media feed, one message caught my attention. It was a photo of Brad Hastings at a charity event, in which he hugged a petite blonde. According to the caption, it was Jessica Hastings, his wife. I couldn't take my eyes off the picture, carefully studying Jessica's face. Her smile seemed forced, and her eyes were tired and sad. Something in her expression struck me. Without hesitation, I decided to contact her and sent her a message. "My name is Ryan Mitchell, and I think it's time for us to discuss your husband," I texted her. To my surprise, she reacted almost instantly. "I know who you are, Ryan. I watched the video. What do you want?" I took a deep breath before typing the answer. "I want to be honest with you and hopefully find answers. Can we meet?" There was a pause before her answer appeared on the screen. "Good. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Café Noir on 5th Street. I won't be able to stay for long." The next day, I came to the cafe early in the morning feeling nervous. I hadn't cleaned up in a few days, but my appearance was the least of my worries. This meeting was dedicated to Jessica. At exactly 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Jessica appeared. She was even more beautiful in person, but when she sat down in front of me, I noticed the fatigue in her eyes, artfully hidden by makeup. Her movements were tense, and I realized that the conversation would not be easy. I nodded, taking a moment to collect my thoughts. First of all, I want to apologize. I am well aware that my actions have most likely complicated your life, I began. Jessica laughed bitterly. Complicated it? It's just one word. Do you have any idea what it's like when the whole internet finds out about my husband's infidelity? I shuddered, realizing how much pain I had caused. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking straight. I wanted to hurt them the same way they hurt me, I confessed. Her expression softened a little. I understand that feeling. But why did you ask me to meet? What's the matter? She asked. Taking a deep breath, I leaned forward and lowered my voice. Because I'm guessing there's more going on here than just cheating. Brad, he's not a very good person, is he? Jessica's eyes widened in surprise, and then she quickly ran around the cafe. I don't understand what you're talking about, she muttered nervously. Jessica, I said rather softly, I noticed how you look in the photos with him, how you look around to see if anyone is eavesdropping. You're afraid of him, aren't you? Tears welled up in her eyes, confirming my suspicions. I don't think you understand, she whispered, avoiding my gaze. I can't talk about it. I reached out cautiously, almost touching her hand, but then pulled away. You can trust me. I want to help you, I urged. She shook her head vigorously. You can't help me. No one can. If I try to leave him, he'll take everything. My house, my money, my children. I saw the fear in her eyes. I asked quietly, already anticipating the answer in advance. Jessica's silence confirmed my suspicions. My voice was firm and kind at the same time when I was talking to Jessica. You don't have to live like this. There are people who can help. I know a lawyer. Jessica interrupted me, her voice rising in disbelief. A lawyer? Do you think I haven't thought about it? Brad controls half the lawyers in this city, and the other half are too intimidated to speak out against him. I nodded, understanding her fear. I know someone who is not local, someone who's not afraid of Brad. We can do this together, Jessica. We can destroy it. She looked at me, hope and fear fighting in her eyes. Why would you help me? You don't know me at all. I replied simply, because it's the right thing to do, and because Brad has to pay for what he did, for both of us. Jessica was silent for a moment, then took a deep breath. Okay, tell me about this lawyer. I couldn't help but smile. A glimmer of hope dawned in my eyes. His name is Ethan Roberts. He's an old friend from college. If anyone can help us, it's him. Do you trust him completely? Jessica asked, still unsure. I trust him with my life, I replied confidently. He's a master of his craft. Jessica nodded slowly. Okay, I'll meet him. But Ryan, you have to promise me something. Anything, I said. Give me your word of honor that no matter what happens, you will help me protect my children. They are all I have. I looked into her eyes, seeing the boundless maternal love. I promise, Jessica. We're together now. We will ensure the safety of you and your children. When Jessica left the cafe, a spark of hope lit up in me. I have a new goal, a reason to keep fighting. I dialed a number I hadn't called in several years, reconnecting with an old friend. The phone rang several times before a familiar voice answered. Hi, Ethan. This is Ryan Mitchell. There was silence before I heard Ethan's voice on the other end. Ryan? Well, that's a surprise. How long has it been? 10 years? He said. I ran my hand through my hair, feeling a pang of guilt. Yes, about that much. Look, I know things didn't end well between us, but I really need your help. Ethan's tone turned icy. My help? It's a brave request on your part. As far as I remember, you made it clear that you didn't want to see me in your life. I sighed. I know, and I'm truly sorry. I was young and stupid. But it's not about me, Ethan. There are innocent people who need your help. Ethan's voice softened slightly. And why should I care? I sensed a note of curiosity in his tone. Because deep down, You're still the guy who wanted to change the world for the better. A guy who went to law school to fight for justice. There was another pause before Ethan finally spoke. Okay, I'm listening, but it's better that it's worth my time, Mitchell. I took a deep breath and immediately decided to tell everything. I told Ethan about everything, about cheating, about the video, about losing my job. I even talked about Jessica and Brad, about cruelty and fear. Ethan was silent for a long time before he finally spoke. Jesus, Ryan, you really screwed up this time, didn't you? I could only confirm this with a confession. So will you help us? I asked. Ethan replied, I'll meet you at my office tomorrow at 9 o'clock sharp. And Ryan, don't be late. The next morning, I was standing outside a modern office building in downtown Austin. Ethan's name was listed in the directory, and his firm occupied the top floor. As I rode in the elevator, my nerves clenched in my stomach. The last time I met Ethan, we almost got into a fight over a girl named Emily. The irony of fate did not leave me. When I went up to the top floor, I was greeted by Ethan's secretary, a stern woman in her 50s, who looked at me suspiciously. Come on in, she said. I opened the heavy oak door and quietly entered Ethan's office. He was looking out the window with his back to me. Since we were in college, he had become stronger and more massive. His once slender figure was now encased in an elegant suit. You came on time, Ethan remarked, finally turning to face me. This is something new. I smiled weakly. People change, EPH. His eyes narrowed at the old nickname. Do they change? Because from where I am, you remind me of that reckless hot guy who stole my girlfriend and ruined our friendship. His words hit me hard. It's not fair, Ethan. With Emily and me, it wasn't like that. Ethan laughed bitterly. Really? Then how was it, Ryan? Tell me. I spoke softly. We fell in love with each other. It wasn't planned, it just happened. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, Ethan snapped. And now you're asking me for help because the same woman cheated on you. Karma can be relentless, can it? He added. His words hurt deeply, but I couldn't deny their truthfulness. I knew that I would have to do it, and maybe even more than just do it. But Ethan, it's not just about me and Emily. We're talking about Jessica Hastings and her children. They need your help, I said. Ethan softened a little. Tell me everything. And I mean everything, Ryan. No lies. And so, over the next hour, I told the whole confusing story. Ethan listened attentively, occasionally seeking clarification. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair, resting his chin on his fingers. You're in a very difficult position, Mitchell, he said. I nodded, feeling the weight of the situation fall on my shoulders. I understand, but I can't turn a blind eye to it. Not when I know what Brad is doing to Jessica and these kids. Ethan was silent for a moment, studying me intently. Eventually, he sighed. So be it. I will help. But not because of you, Ryan. Just for Jessica and her kids. Relief washed over me. Thank you, Ethan. I can't tell you how grateful I am to you. He raised his hand. Don't thank me yet. This is not going to be a simple task. Brad Hastings has power and connections. We will need much more than just your word and Jessica's testimony. I nodded, eagerly awaiting his instructions. What do you mean? Ethan drummed his fingers on the table, lost in thought. We need concrete evidence. Witness statements and evidence pointing to abuse and misconduct are crucial. We need someone who can extract information unnoticed, Ethan added. As a private investigator? I clarified. Ethan nodded in agreement. That's right. I know someone who could help. Her name is Mia Lewis. She is a former policeman and now a private detective. She is highly appreciated in her field. Concerned about reliability, I asked, can we rely on her? Ethan's smile was serious. For our lives, Mia is known for her honesty and does not like those who abuse their authority. Feeling a surge of optimism, I agreed to go on. Just as I was getting ready to leave, Ethan called my name. I turned around, not knowing what to expect. His expression was unfathomable as he said, "For that matter, I'm sorry about Emily. No one should feel such betrayal." Fighting back tears, I was able to reply, "Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate your words, and I'm really sorry for everything." He nodded slightly, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I know. Let's make this scoundrel pay," he said confidently. As I left Ethan's office, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. We had a plan, we had hope, and maybe my old friend came back to me. The following weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. Ethan introduced me to Mia Lewis, an unflappable woman in her 40s with piercing eyes and a sharp tongue. "So you've mixed everything up," she remarked, assessing me. "I hope you're ready for what's coming next." I nodded, trying to show more confidence than I really felt, determined to destroy Brad by any means necessary. Mia smiled slyly. "That's what I like to hear," she said. "Now let's get down to business." We quickly set up a temporary headquarters in a rented office space. Ethan focused on the legal aspects, and Mia and I worked tirelessly to collect evidence. One day, when I was carefully examining the financial documents that Mia had somehow obtained, she burst into the room with an enthusiastic look. "I found something," she announced. "Two of Brad's former employees are ready to talk about themselves. They have shocking stories to share." I jumped with excitement. "This is fantastic news. When can we meet them?" Mia held up her hand, warning me to take my time. "These people are afraid. They take a lot of risks by expressing their opinions. We must act delicately." Ethan, who was on the phone in the corner, stopped talking and joined us. "Mia is absolutely right. It was very important to ensure the protection of these witnesses. If Brad finds out about their involvement, their lives could be in danger," Ethan said. I agreed with them, feeling guilty for not thinking about their safety sooner. "So what's the plan?" I asked Ethan, wanting to move on. After some thought, he offered to arrange a meeting on neutral territory with a court reporter to document their testimony. Mia immediately took over the security organization, using her connections to enlist the help of several former military friends. While we were coordinating the details, I was overwhelmed with a sense of anticipation and fear. Every step we took on the path to justice seemed to me a risky step that could provoke Brad's anger. The day of the meeting came, and we gathered in a small conference room in an inconspicuous office building on the outskirts of the city. Mia's security team carefully combed the room for potential threats before giving us the go-ahead. The first witness, a woman named Sarah, entered the room with a mixture of anxiety and determination. "I worked as Brad's assistant for 3 years, she began. Her voice was trembling with fear. It all started with little things, inappropriate comments, invasion of personal space, but it soon turned into something much worse. When Sarah talked about her ordeal, I was overwhelmed by a wave of nausea. The Brad she described was a tyrant who abused his power by intimidating employees. The next witness, a man named Tom, told a similar creepy story. "Brad made me manipulate financial statements," he said, and his complexion paled. "He stole money from the company and transferred it to offshore accounts," Tom said. Ethan leaned toward him, his gaze focused. "Do you have any confirmation of this?" Tom nodded, pulling out a flash drive. "Everyone is here. I copied them as a safety net." As the court reporter painstakingly copied their words, a wave of hope swept over me. It was the proof we needed to destroy Brad. But my joy was short-lived. Just as we were finishing the meeting, Mia's phone rang. After reading the message, she turned pale. "We have a problem," she said in a strained voice. "One of my friends noticed Brad entering the building." Panic gripped the room. Ethan began to act actively. "Mia, take Sarah and Tom out the back door. Ryan, come with me. We will organize a diversion." While Mia hurriedly led our witnesses out, Ethan and I headed for the hall. Brad's voice was heard, loud and furious, demanding to know our location. Ethan squeezed my shoulder reassuringly. "Are you ready for this?" he asked. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my courage. As much as I'm ready at all, I replied. We entered the lobby just in time to see Brad trying to squeeze past the guard, his face contorted with anger when he noticed us. You! He growled, aggressively advancing on me. Do you think you can ruin my life and get away with it? Ethan took a step toward me, his voice flat but firm. Mr. Hastings, I advise you to leave, unless you want to add assault to the charges already brought against you. Brad's eyes widened in confusion. Accusations? What are you talking about? I couldn't help but smile. It's over, Brad. We all know. The use of cruelty, theft. Everything is open now. For a moment, I thought Brad might attack us. But then something changed in his expression. Fear turned to anger. This is not the final yet, he whispered, slowly stepping back. You underestimated the power you faced, he added. Brad ran out, leaving us alone, and I was able to exhale, not even realizing that I was holding my breath. Ethan patted me on the back, acknowledging our successful confrontation. But the real battle is still ahead, he said. Back at the office, we gathered to regroup. Sarah and Tom were safe. Their statements were protected. We've collected financial reports, witness statements, and a bunch of other evidence against Brad. Sitting at the table, we were exhausted, but full of delight at the progress we had made. I looked around my team with a sense of gratitude and determination. Ethan, my old friend who has become a reliable ally. Mia, a fearless investigator who never gave up in the face of difficulties. Somewhere out there is Jessica, the mother who trusted us to bring justice to her and her children. What should I do next? I asked, breaking the tense silence that hung in the air. Ethan smiled tightly, his eyes filled with determination. We are preparing for war now, he replied, his voice steady and unwavering. The day of the trial came, bringing with it a flurry of nerves and anticipation. I was straightening my tie in the courthouse bathroom, trying to calm my racing heart. Ethan appeared next to me, and his presence became a reliable anchor in the storm of emotions. Are you ready for this? He asked, meeting my gaze in the mirror. I took a deep breath, preparing for the upcoming battle. As much as I can possibly be ready, she replied, summoning all her resolve. Do you think we have a chance? I asked, seeking reassurance in his unshakable confidence. Ethan's expression was grim but determined. We have a serious case, but Brad's team is formidable. It's not going to be an easy fight. We entered the courtroom, where Jessica was already sitting, looking forward to the start of the trial. I took a seat next to her, squeezing her hand reassuringly. When the trial began, I realized that we would have to fight all our lives. But with my unlikely team by my side, I was ready for any difficulties. We're going to make it, I whispered to Jessica. Just be honest. The bailiff's voice filled the courtroom. Everyone stands up. The trial has begun. The Honorable Judge Michaels is presiding. While we were standing there, I noticed Brad and his legal team. Brad looked calm on the surface, but I could feel the tension in his demeanor. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, looked around the room. You can sit down, Mr. Roberts. You can begin the opening statement, the judge said. Ethan stood up, straightening his jacket. Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are here today to uncover the pattern of abuse, both personal and official, committed by Brad Hastings. As Ethan outlined our case, I watched the jury's reaction. Some looked shocked, others skeptical. Brad's lawyer, a man named Gerald Thompson, was furiously taking notes. When it was Thompson's turn, he offered the opposite point of view. The defense will prove that these charges are just a malicious ploy to blacken the reputation, invented by a former employee who has a dislike and a spouse who wants to gain financial benefits during the settlement of the divorce process, he said. As the trial progressed, the courtroom turned into a battlefield, and witnesses were called to testify. I was one of the first to be questioned. Thompson's interrogation was relentless. Mr. Mitchell, didn't you attack Mr. Hastings near your previous place of work? I clenched my jaw in frustration. Thompson interrupted. A simple yes or no is enough. And is it true that you posted a video of Mr. Hastings in a compromising position on the internet without his consent? Yes, but this video shows everything, I replied. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. There are no more questions, Thompson said. Feeling defeated, I sank to the floor and caught Ethan's barely perceptible nod. He had a plan. The next speaker was Jessica, who took a shaky breath as she was sworn in. Mrs. Hastings, Ethan began gently, can you tell the court about your relationship with your husband? Jessica replied in a calm but even voice. Everything was fine at first. Brad could be charming when he wanted to, but then everything changed. How is that? Ethan asked. Jessica continued. He became controlling, angry. If dinner wasn't ready on time, or if I was talking to another man, even just out of politeness, he would fly into a rage. Has he ever beaten you? Ethan asked. Jessica's eyes filled with tears as she remembered how it happened the first time, about a year into their marriage. Despite his apologies and promises that it would not happen again, the brutality continued, repeating itself over and over again. Thompson protested, claiming that Jessica's emotional testimony was biased, but the judge rejected his protest. As Jessica talked about the years of bullying, several jurors wiped away tears, and even the judge's usually stern expression softened noticeably. Thompson went on the offensive, asking why Jessica didn't leave if her husband treated her so cruelly. Jessica's voice faltered, and she admitted that she was scared. Brad threatened to take the kids and ruin her if she tried to leave, and she believed him. Thompson hinted that she stayed for financial reasons, but Ethan quickly expressed his disagreement, accusing him of harassing a witness. The judge sternly upheld the objection, warning Thompson to watch his tone. In the days that followed, the courtroom turned into a whirlwind of testimony. Mia courageously stood up in court, presenting financial evidence that she painstakingly extracted. Former employees of Brad told about their harassment and unethical behavior. Then it was Brad's turn to testify. He exuded confidence in his expensive suit, which was in stark contrast to Jessica's unflappable demeanor. Brad's voice was smooth and polished as he denied all the accusations. He claimed that all this was a lie, and insisted that he always treated his wife and employees with due respect. He accused me of plotting to destroy him out of jealousy. I could feel my blood boiling with anger, but Ethan's reassuring touch on my arm held me in place. When it was Ethan's turn to cross-examine, he was relentless. He questioned Brad about suspicious bank transfers to offshore accounts, demanding an explanation. Brad's calm demeanor began to crack a little as Ethan continued to put pressure on him, trying to prove the legality of the business transactions in question. The jury seemed to be caught up in the unfolding drama. Brad's answers became increasingly erratic and contradictory as Ethan punched a hole in his defense. And now the moment of reckoning has come. Ethan confidently asked for physical evidence C, a video recording in which Brad's face turned pale, to be presented as evidence. Brad tried to object, saying that the video was obtained by me illegally, but Ethan calmly explained that the recording was obtained legally, from surveillance cameras in Mr. Hastings' office. When a video appeared on the screen showing Brad physically abusing one of the employees, his expression changed. He realized that his carefully constructed facade had completely collapsed, and there was no escape from these clues. In his closing remarks, Ethan made a powerful and moving argument. Addressing the jury, he stressed that there was a huge amount of evidence of abusive behavior by Mr. Hastings in both his personal and professional life, and urged them to hold him accountable. Unlike him, Thompson's closing statement looked weak, filled with attempts to undermine the credibility of the witnesses. When the jury retired for a meeting, Ethan, Jessica, and I anxiously awaited the verdict. Less than 2 hours later, we returned to the courtroom. My heart started pounding when the judge announced the verdict. The judge announced the decision, finding Brad Hastings guilty of domestic violence and embezzlement. The courtroom erupted into cheers and whispers. Jessica was crying next to me, and tears welled up in my own eyes. It was a moment of justice. The judge's voice sounded above the noise in the courtroom, demanding order. "Mr. Hastings, stand up for the verdict," the judge ordered. Brad stood up, his face pale. "Brad Hastings, the court hereby sentences you to 5 years in prison for embezzlement. You are also required to pay restitution in the amount of $2.5 million to your company. In addition, you will serve a parallel 3-year sentence on charges of committing a crime related to domestic abuse. Upon your release, you will be subject to a permanent restraining order prohibiting any contact with Jessica Hastings and your children." Turning to Jessica, the judge announced, "Mrs. Hastings, in connection with your divorce, the court grants you full custody of your children. Mr. Hastings will pay substantial alimony and maintenance, totaling 60% of his assets and future income." After the judge's hammer hit, there was a commotion in the courtroom. Reporters demanded statements. Brad's family loudly objected, and amid all this, Jessica hugged me tightly. "Thank you," she cried. "Thank you for believing in me," I said. I hugged her back, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. "You did it, Jessica. You showed the courage to stand up to him." When the bailiffs took Brad away, I met his eyes. His face looked almost pitiful. Ignoring the objections of his lawyers, I approached him. "It's your own fault, Brad," I whispered. "I just put the truth out there for everyone to see." He looked at me but said nothing as they escorted him out. Ethan patted me on the back in congratulations. "We did it, partner. Justice has been restored," he exclaimed. But there was also bitterness in our triumph. As we were leaving the courthouse, I saw Emily standing by the stairs. She looked small and lost, which was a stark contrast to the confident woman I once married. "Ryan," she called uncertainly, "can we talk?" I sighed, signaling Ethan and Jessica to move on without me. "What's the matter, Emily?" Her hands twitched nervously as she spoke. "I wanted to apologize for everything. What I have done cannot be forgiven." "You're right," I replied, my tone devoid of emotion. "That's how it was." Tears streamed down her face. "I know, but I want you to know that I never stopped loving you. What happened to Brad was the biggest mistake of my life." Despite my sympathy, the memory of her betrayal still lingered in my mind. "I'm sorry, Emily, but our divorce is final," I said sadly. "It's over." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand everything. I hope that one day you will forgive me." Watching her leave, I felt that one of the stages of my life was coming to an end. It was painful, but at the same time I felt liberated. The following weeks passed in a whirlwind of events. The divorce was finalized, and as the judge ruled, Emily received half of everything. Because of the hype surrounding Brad's trial, it became almost impossible to find a job in Austin. Any potential employer obviously only saw me as the guy from that infamous viral video. One evening, as I was sitting in my sparsely furnished apartment, surrounded by boxes, my friend Ethan dropped by with a pack of beer. "So, what are your plans now?" he asked, handing me the bottle. I shrugged, feeling lost. "Honestly, I have no idea. There's nothing left for me here." Ethan took a sip of beer and then offered, "I have a friend in Denver who heads a technology startup. They need experienced engineers. Why not start from scratch in a new city?" Intrigued by this idea, I felt a spark of hope for the first time in several months. "You know what? Maybe you're really right." Ethan flashed a confident smile. "Of course I'm right. I'm always right. That's what makes me a great lawyer." I grinned and tossed him a crumpled napkin. When we were uncorking the bottles, I realized that, despite the difficulties, I had acquired something valuable, a new friendship. As I drove to Denver in my car, packed with the remnants of my life in Austin, the Rocky Mountains were visible on the horizon. The air seemed different, cleaner, and maybe that gave my mind hope for a new beginning. The first thing I did was look into the office of the Mile High Tech startup, whose CEO was Ethan's friend Tom. Linda, the secretary, welcomed me warmly, confirming that I was Ryan and that Tom was waiting for me. Tom Reeves, a calm man in his 40s with a kind smile and a firm handshake, greeted me. He mentioned that Ethan had spoken well of me, and that allayed my fears. Tom laughed, admitting that I had been having a hard time lately. He also noted, "You are an exceptional engineer, and this is the most important thing for me." When Tom gave me a tour of the office and introduced me to the team, I felt such excitement as I hadn't felt in a long time. The passion and energy of the people I met were contagious. Back at the office, Tom asked, "Well, what do you say? Do you want to join our group of unique people?" I couldn't help but grin and readily replied, "Of course." The following months flew by in a blur. Having immersed myself in my work, I was happy to take the opportunity to focus on coding and not in the walls of the court. My colleagues were kind and supportive, never delving into my past. One Friday evening, as we were preparing to go on a regular weekend binge, Sarah, my team leader, was delayed. "Hi, Ryan," she said, standing next to me. "Our group is going camping tomorrow. Would you like to join us?" I hesitated. Outside of work, I kept to a closed lifestyle and did not dare to make new acquaintances, but Sarah's smile was sincere and endearing. "You know what? That sounds great," I agreed. The hike turned out to be exactly what I needed. As we climbed the mountains, the crisp air and breathtaking views washed away the remnants of my former life. At the top, as we sat catching our breath and passing water bottles to each other, Sarah pushed me in the shoulder. "So, mysterious Ryan from Austin, what's your story?" I hesitated for a moment before letting my guard down. Now these people were more than just colleagues. Maybe it's time to share something more with them. "It's a pretty long story," I warned. Sarah smiled encouragingly. "Well, we'll have plenty of time when we get down the mountain." And I started to open up. I haven't revealed all the details, but I've told you enough about Emily's betrayal, the viral video, and the trial. Surprisingly, as I talked, the pain began to subside. It felt like I was telling someone else's story. When I finished, there was a moment of silence. Then Sarah reached out and squeezed my hand. "Damn it, Ryan, it's not easy," she said sympathetically. "But you know what? You did it. You can be proud of that." The others supported me, and I felt a warmth unrelated to the sun shining above us. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged to myself. As the months passed, life returned to normal. I recently moved into a new apartment with stunning mountain views from the windows, signed up for the nearest climbing wall, and began to slowly go on dates. But one morning a letter arrived with an Austin postmark, which took me by surprise. My heart started pounding when I noticed Jessica's name on the return address. With excitement and nervousness, I carefully opened the envelope. Inside, Jessica's familiar handwriting greeted me with the words, "Dear Ryan, I hope this letter found you in good health. I've been wanting to contact you for a long time, but I've been waiting for good news. I want to express my gratitude once again for all that you have done for me and my children. Your courage in coming to me has given me the strength to defend myself, and I will never be able to thank you for that. I wanted to tell you about our business. We moved to a new city where you can start from scratch, and I opened my own bakery. It may be small, but it is mine, and for the first time in many years I feel truly free. Brad is still in jail, and although he may be out on parole soon, the restraining order gives me peace of mind. We are safe and happy. I really hope you found peace and happiness too, Ryan. You deserve this more than anyone else. Thank you again for everything." When I finished reading Jessica's letter, I smiled. Despite all the difficulties, there was a positive side to this. Jessica and her children were safe and happy, and I was slowly but surely rebuilding my life. When I sat down at my desk, I felt a surge of inspiration and began to prepare a response to Jessica's letter. Her words brought me great joy, and with each sentence I wrote, I felt the weight of past problems gradually being lifted from my shoulders. Resentment, disappointment, sadness. It all felt like distant memories of a man I no longer recognized. When I stopped to look out the window at the majestic mountains bathed in the warm glow of the morning sun, I was overcome by a feeling of newfound hope. The future beckoned with endless possibilities, and for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, I felt ready to accept everything that lay ahead. And that's the end of the story. Thank you for your valuable time. Our hero turned out to be a tough guy and the cheaters got what they deserved. If you think so too, then subscribe to the channel and give us your powerful likes. May the force be with you.